going on, guys? Welcome back to this episode of Outside the Arena with Rob and Griff. I'm Griffin Senek, joined by my co-host Rob Goldberger, and we're back this week. Another episode, kind of a middle of the week episode, bridging 2 weeks together. But it's an exciting week tomorrow. First game of the season, Bills Rams. I mean, couldn't ask for a better first game in the NFL season. Obviously, week one is finally here. Crazy to say. But we are going to start in a different league. We're going to talk about the NBA first. There was a big trade that went down this past week, and it involves my Cleveland Cavaliers. They acquired three-time All-Star Donovan Mitchell for a big package that included Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, 3 firsts, and then 2 pick swaps. Obviously, a huge package. But for the Cleveland Cavaliers, they don't trade Garland, Mobley, Allen. They now have a big four that propels them right in that conversation in the Eastern Conference. I mean, what are your thoughts on this deal, Rob? Obviously, a huge move for the Cavs, and they were good last year, but this is going to most likely take them to a different level.
No, yeah, I mean, this move kind of came out of left field. I wasn't really expecting it. Everybody kind of thought that Donovan Mitchell, it was sort of a foregone conclusion almost, a month ago that Donovan Mitchell was going to end up a New York Knick, and that sort of never really materialized because the Knicks weren't willing to meet the Jazz's demand. And I think that the Cavs have done really just a wonderful job of rebuilding over the last 3 years because Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, I think are just so generally underrated. I think Evan Mobley, especially, like this guy, Griffin knows how I feel about him, but this guy, I think, is a borderline generational talent. Like this guy, I think, along with Giannis in the future, could be the best defensive player in the NBA. And you also have obviously Jared Allen. Like those Twin Towers are just ridiculous. Yeah, on the inside. And I think Darius Garland is probably one of the 2025 best players in the league. Like this guy is I'm just going through all these youngest because I think that the Cavs, because they were dealing with so many injuries last season, obviously we didn't really get to see them. They lost in the play-in last year. This is a team that obviously I made a joke with you at the time it happened, Griffin, but this really is a team that can compete, and it's going to be such a strong Eastern Conference, man. I mean, you really have 5-6 teams that can compete. I mean, it's really just been developing over the past couple years, but I think this is almost a seamless fit for Donovan Mitchell. Like this is an elite front court duo and an elite backcourt duo, and obviously Karis LeVert, he's going to have a lot of his defensive deficiencies covered, obviously, by that elite defensive front court, and he'll be able to just focus on scoring the ball. I mean, I think this is going to be a deadly team because they can just kill you from everywhere. It's like they really don't have any deficiencies, in their lineup. They have 4 all-star caliber players, which is just crazy to say. And I really do believe Evan Mobley is on that level. I mean, and as from the Jazz, if you're looking at it from a Jazz perspective, obviously they're going full OKC Thunder mode, full process mode. But you look at their picks. I get they have a lot of picks. I get they have a lot of players, but you look at a list of their players. It's Walker Kessler. It's, guys like I just don't. There's Ochai Agbaji, obviously, but to me, I think it's disappointing if you're trading Gobert and Mitchell and you don't have a guy you can build your franchise around. Even before at the start of their tank, I mean, the Thunder knew that their franchise was going to be built around SGA. And look, I think the Jazz are obviously, it's clear that next year there's going to be a legendary tank off for Victor Wembanyama. Obviously the 7'4" big man from France, who's pretty much the number 1 pick already a year in advance. But I think that's sort of the Jazz, the Jazz, the Spurs, the Thunder, the Rockets, a lot of teams I think are going to, you're just going to see a lot of blatant tanking this year from them.
Yeah, I mean, this deal is, from the Jazz perspective, I mean, this is, what they're doing. They've torn it down. They're going to probably continue to tear it down. Guys like Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley are probably going to get moved. I mean, it's just tough though, because like you said, like the guys that these young guys they have, obviously they get Colin Sexton, but he's coming off a big injury. And even when he was healthy, he was not, he's a good player, but he's not a great player, I think is what I would say about Colin Sexton. He's a pretty good scorer, and Lauri Markkanen, he's all right. Agbaji, hopefully he's going to be good. But you look at the rest of this deal. I mean, the first round picks don't even start till 2025. So we're already talking 3 years down the line until they get the first. They're going to make the first selection from the Cavs. and the last one being 2029. I mean, that's 7 years from now. Like that's just insane. Like that pick is who knows what it's going to be and who knows how it's going to help the Jazz. But like that's the thing about these rebuilds in the NBA. Like it's definitely a little tougher, and obviously Utah does not have a the Donovan Mitchell era. It wasn't working, and good for them for just totally tearing it down and getting what they could because they realized that this team was not going anywhere. They weren't going. They were just going to keep wasting years, and they decided to tear it down, which I think is admirable. A lot of teams, there's a good amount of teams that just don't have the courage to do so, and good for them. But in terms of the state of their franchise, they need, like you said, that number one overall pick or at least a starting point because right now they don't have anything on the roster that's really you can look at confidently and say that this is a key piece for the future. For the Cavs, I mean, I think this is a no-brainer deal for them. This is a team that, like you said, like the rebuild they've gone on since LeBron left, a masterful job by Kobe Ottman and the rest of the company. I mean, they're a legit threat once again, and obviously they totally tore it down. They were horrific for so many years, but they have, like you said, 4 legitimate all-stars now, and losing Markkanen, like he was all right, but like you're not going to lose sleep over that. Abaji, obviously, there was hope for him, but he's a rookie, he hasn't even played. And then Sexton, who knows how he would have even fit in. You add a guy like Donovan Mitchell. I mean, you look at the Eastern Conference, like you said, you have obviously the Bucks, you got the Celtics, you got the Heat, you got the Sixers. The Nets should be pretty good. You got who
You've
am I
got
forgetting?
6. You got the Raptors too.
Raptors are going to be good. The Cavs and the Knicks. Hawks are good. I mean, there's so many good teams.
There are 8. There are 2 of those teams. 2 of the 8 teams you just listed will be in the play-in.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane. This Cavs team last year was, they were in the play-in, but they should have been. Obviously, that Jarrett Allen injury really derailed things, and they would have been a playoff team without it. And now
you Mobley before that.
Even. Yeah, exactly. Like they had a few injuries down the stretch that really hurt them. So this team, I think, is going to be really good. I'm excited to see what they do. Excited to see how they play together. Obviously, they still have Kevin Love, which I think is good. I was initially, when I saw this deal, I was worried that they traded him. I think he's such a key piece for them off the bench, as well as just the leadership role. I mean, that guy's been in, 3 NBA finals, 4 NBA finals. I mean, he's been there. So, he's got that experience. He's a great leader. I think, he's a key part of that team. And then like Karis LeVert off the bench too. He's going to be, I think last year he was kind of thrown into things. It wasn't necessarily a great fit last year. I think he's going to be a lot better this year. Still have Isaac Okoro, still have a few other pieces. So I'm really excited to see this Cavs team this year. I expect them to be a top 4 or 5 seed, even in that stacked Eastern Conference. I think they're going to be really good. I think, like you said, like they maybe don't have the flat. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, I would say, is a very well-known kind of star in the NBA. But like you said, like they don't really have like they don't have a superstar per se where, some of these teams have a Giannis or an Embiid or a Tatum. They don't have one of those guys, a KD even. But this team's going to be really good. They've got a lot of good players, and I'm excited to see how they play. No-brainer deal. And real quick about the Knicks, I mean, I think it sucks because Knicks fans have been looking for a star, and this is a guy who clearly wanted to play there. He, grew up in the area. He's a diehard Mets fan. Like he clearly wanted to be there. I understand them. I mean, you heard the report from, I guess it was Woj, where they offered RJ, Mitch Robinson, and 3 firsts, which I don't know if that's true because I feel like you have to be a total idiot to not accept that. That seems like a too good to be true compared to what they got now. Who knows the validity of that? But for the Knicks, they're not going to. This is not a team that would, even with Donovan Mitchell, was going to seriously compete in the Eastern Conference. So at the end of the day, them holding off, not wanting to give all their picks, I understand it. The thing with the Knicks, though, is that it's just mediocrity. Like they're just kind of in this phase, and I just don't see any way out of it with all these contracts. I mean, Barrett, they extend, they signed Brunson. Like these guys they're good, but they're just.
Once Julius Randle is moved, that's really like when the process of the Knicks rebuild kind of can take him the year because obviously he played really well during that contract year and hasn't really done. Obviously really wasn't very good last year.
Yeah,
I like you said, just a lot of mediocrity in New York, and I get they're trying. They do have young talent. They have Emmanuel Quickly. They have other, Quentin Grimes. They have other guys, but it's just like you know, they're so we just talked about the heavyweight power of the East. I mean, they're very far away. I mean, and
Yeah,
it really does. It really is crazy because just a couple years ago, they were the 4th seed in the East, which is pretty great. Or the
I don't even
fourth.
know how that was
Yeah,
like a
yeah. I mean, because Julius Randle in his contract year just went absolutely ballistic. Second time he's done that, by the way, and earned himself a big contract, which is pretty crazy to think about. I mean, he might play well again this, but I don't. I just don't, like you said, they're so far off. I mean, I think they're kind of consigned to irrelevancy this year, unfortunately. But I mean, I don't really mind the RJ Barrett deal, to be honest with you. I think it's probably like fine market value. He's a good young player, but I, the New York just hasn't had a 1A in such a long, long time. I mean,
yeah.
since Carmelo Anthony came second in MVP vote in 2013, you really haven't seen that in New York. But I mean, mediocre, like you said. That's kind of just the word that comes to mind for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to feel for Knicks fans because it does kind of this trend that's going on over the years. As funny as it is, I mean, they've lost out on all these guys. Donovan Mitchell obviously had the KD, Kyrie, Zion fantasies that turned into Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, and like Frank Ntilikina. But and then obviously you've got like LeBron. I mean, the list of names goes on, but yeah, good move for the Cavs, and I'm very happy. I love Donovan Mitchell, especially as a Mets fan. Like this guy is
Yeah,
like the
it's a
perfect
match made in heaven.
superstar for
Yeah,
my
match made in
basketball team.
heaven for you, for
Die-hard
sure.
Mets fan. I mean, very easy to root for. I mean, I already love Donovan Mitchell. This is, I'm super happy. So good move for the Cavs, and definitely unexpected though. I was very surprised when I saw it.
For sure.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to pivot to week 1 of the NFL season. I still can't believe it's like there's football on tomorrow. I kind of feel surreal.
Crazy, yeah.
I mean, the best time of the year. It's just hopefully, both our baseball teams will also be in the playoffs. Although it's gotten interesting for both of us in the well, the Mets will be in the
Well, to be
playoffs, but
honest with you, I think from my perspective, I'm really not too worried because the Brewers thankfully have sucked as much as we
yeah,
do, and our schedule is really easing up. But oh man, Griff, oh man. Well,
ugh.
I mean, what's going on over there, buddy?
The Braves just don't lose. It's not even a Mets collapse. It's just the Braves never lose, man.
Oh, it's
Like
pretty crazy. I mean, you're on a 100-win pace, and you're not gonna you may not win your division. Just brutal, absolutely brutal.
I mean, we still have the easiest. I think it's all going to come down to that 3-game series at the end of the year. I mean,
Yeah,
it's going to because the Braves are just so good. I mean, honestly, you guys are the one team that can really help us out because you play the Braves like a lot from now
yeah.
to
I mean, we
7
played the
times,
Braves.
I think.
We played the Braves fairly well this year. I mean, I think we're
Yeah,
500.
and you guys have done good. So if you can win like 4 games against the Braves, no, I think what is it like 7?
I
I think
believe
it's
that's
7
right.
games. So
That's right. Yeah.
we'll see if the Phillies. I mean, we'll talk more MLB down the line. It's still a little. I mean,
Yeah.
Aaron Judge though, another home run today, 55. This guy is just.
Who's your
I
MVP
can't,
though, Griff?
it's so tough because this is gonna be
But
the
it's
toughest.
Shohei though. It's Shohei though. It's Shohei though.
What Shohei's doing is just ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Listen, I have all the respect for Aaron Judge. He's
Oh,
having the
poor
greatest
guy is
season
gonna
of all
lose a
time.
second MVP. Oh,
He might. Hey,
crazy.
he's
I don't know, man. If he beats Maris, I think you got to give it to
that.
Judge.
Yeah, I think that's
I
probably it.
think that's the number. Otherwise, it's gonna be
It's
Shohei.
pretty crazy that that's what it takes to beat Shohei.
Shohei's just gotten so hot to him, and he's got what, like 32 homers,
32
85
home runs.
RBIs,
And people
and
were
like
like, oh,
almost
well,
200
Shohei,
strikeouts.
because the argument was at a point that, oh, Shohei's been a mediocre batter this year. And then all of a sudden, this guy is like 32, like 32 dingers with a 950 OPS or whatever.
Ridiculous. That's gonna be fascinating. I'm the Aaron Judge contract this offseason. I mean, oh my, it's gonna be over 300
He's
million.
going to
You would
get
have to
himself
imagine
paid.
over
Paid.
300, right?
Oh, well over, you would imagine.
I
Well,
mean, what are the teams realistically would? I think it's going to be down to the Yankees, maybe the Giants, the
yeah,
Rangers, maybe would sign him, and then the
yeah.
Mets. But I don't see the Mets signing him.
I
So
don't think I just don't see. I don't know. It'd be weird.
I don't think it's a good. I don't think the Mets already have so many guys that are going to be free agents next year. I don't think they're going to go out and spend like 50 million a year on Judge. They don't even need him. Like, to be honest, like they need him obviously, but it's not like a positional need. I don't know. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna share my screen here, and I mean,
Here we
this
go,
first
Griff.
game of the season. I mean, holy cow, Bills Rams.
Holy cow, is correct.
I mean, this is just an unbelievable matchup. Van Jefferson was ruled out today. I mean, not that that matters too much, but Trey White is not
Respect Van
playing.
Jefferson.
He's still recovering. What are your thoughts on this one, Rob? I mean, this is the best first game you could ever ask for.
No, I mean, I think that these are the two best teams in the league, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Although, you know, I'm still big on the Chiefs. You know that. I'll never not be big on them. But
Yeah.
two of the best teams in the league. Let's just say that. I mean, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams W here. And the reason why is because I think it's very rare for the Super Bowl champion to lose on that Thursday night at home. I feel like there's just like, you know, but these two teams are both so good. Obviously, it depends on the health of Matthew Stafford, but I'm still going to go with the Rams here. If there's a healthy Matthew Stafford present, I think the Los Angeles Rams will win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams too. I think that there's a few factors. I mean, I think that no Trey White is going to play a big role in this game because of the fact that, I mean, I think Cooper Kupp is just going to go for like 10, 150 and 2 touchdowns probably week one. Like, I think he's going to go off this game. Very curious to see how Allen Robinson plays, as well as Cam Akers. Cam Akers is a guy that I've personally avoided in fantasy this year. I'm not too high on him. I'm very curious to see how he does. But that said, I think the Rams right now defensively also, that defense is just going to be so good with Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. They add Bobby Wagner. It's going to be so fun to watch. So I'm going to go with the Rams. I think that the Bills are obviously going to be a very good team. This is going to be a very good game. Yeah. I do think the Bills hype has kind of gotten out of control.
I agree.
I will say.
I see on ESPN or maybe it was NFL Network earlier.
NFL Network, they all had the Bills winning the Super Bowl.
I mean, also, I'll just say one thing. Like, Patrick Mahomes' disrespect is just out of hand, man. This is a guy that's come into the league, and had it not been really for 2 plays, would have been 4 Super Bowls in 4 years. But it's like, whatever. They are 4 Super Bowl appearances in 4 years, I should say. But
yeah,
whatever.
Oh my God! Imagine if Patrick Mahomes had like a few legit receivers instead of like, I'm sick of these track stars, man, on the team.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think the Buffalo hype. But no doubt, Buffalo is going to be in a very good team, a top 3, top 5 team in the NFL this year. I just think this narrative that this team is going to run away with the Super Bowl is it's insane. Like this,
I do agree.
You know, let's calm down. Is my thing. I think let's pump the brakes. Like offensively, obviously you have Josh Allen, you have Diggs. You know, outside of that, you know, Dawson Knox, sure, he's pretty good, but like they don't have the greatest weapons in the world offensively. Yeah. Like if this team's going to be the greatest Super Bowl team, like the biggest favorite ever, it seems, you would expect a little more dominance. But we're both going Rams. But Bills, no doubt, are going to be a very good team. Steelers, Bengals, Mitch Trubisky, officially the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh. A little, question marks here with Deontay Johnson. Reading that, I read today that, he's unsure. He's trying to do his best to play week 1. Najee Harris dealing with that foot issue still. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals here because the Steelers have Mitch Trubisky playing quarterback. Listen, I get that, Mitch has apparently had a very good training camp and, he's impressed the coaches in Pittsburgh and, there's been no doubt that he's been the starter. He's ran away with the competition, but this is Mitch Trubisky we're talking about here. I can't believe he's getting another job in 2022 because the narrative around this guy, before he went to Buffalo to go back up Josh
He was
Allen,
in a bad situation though, Rob, like a really bad situation in Chicago. Like, I'm not saying he's good, but like he made the playoffs 2 years on really bad Bears teams.
Oh, come on. Then that 8-8 season, you're counting that? Griffin, you're better than that.
Your Eagles made the playoffs at what, 9-8 last year?
And we got creamed. We got creamed.
So did the Bears.
They did get cream, but Mitch Trubisky was
I
awful that
remember that game. I think it was Jimmy Graham caught a touchdown as like time expired, and he just walked off the field
Yeah,
into
that
the
is true.
tunnel.
That game, 21-10, I believe that game ended. If I'm correct.
Uh,
9 maybe, because they didn't kick the extra point.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bengals here. I think obviously, we sort of previewed the season. I kind of think that the Bengals and the Ravens are going to be the top dogs in the AFC North, and the Steelers are going to struggle every time they play these guys because Steelers have a lot of great players. Obviously, the defense still has a lot of guys there that are excellent pros, but it I just it's tough to go into a division rival with Mitch Trubisky as your quarterback, especially the reigning AFC champions, even though I sort of discussed, I don't think they'll be at that level this year, the Cincinnati Bengals, even though I still think they'll be very good. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bengals too. I think if this game was in Pittsburgh, I actually might have picked the Steelers, but I think the Bengals are a different level offensively. I think this team is going to be elite offensively. I picked them as the division winner. I still think that they're the best team in the AFC North. I think Jamar Chase is going to have a great year. I think T. Higgins will be great as always. The O line should be a lot better this year, so hopefully less sacks on Joe Burrow. But that Steelers defense, people forget how good it is. And with Big Ben, this team managed to make the playoffs. And that's kind of what I've even had to remind myself is that this team and with Big Ben, obviously it was kind of fraudulent, but they made the playoffs last year. Mitch Trubisky is like probably 10 times better than what Big Ben was last year. Big Ben last year was a corpse essentially back there.
Yeah, you
Essentially, I mean, if you put Mike Tomlin at quarterback, it might have been a similar level of production
are.
potentially. So I think Mitch
Probably.
Trubisky, whoever, even and maybe not Mason Rudolph, but him or Trubisky or Pickett, it's a big upgrade off at the quarterback position. The O line still sucks. I still don't think this team is going to be nuts, but I'm excited to. The AFC North is going to be very interesting, but the Bengals should win this game. I think that they're still the team to beat in that AFC North.
I agree.
This game is, yeah, this is going to be the 49ers. Trey Lance,
Obviously.
if he's bad, do they move on to Jimmy G during the season? Like if Trey Lance is really bad, Trey Lance is a very there's a lot of pressure on him because of
I
the
agree.
state of this Niners team. Because this Niners team is ready to win a Super Bowl. The rest of the roster. It's just a question of if Trey Lance can get the job done. And I'm excited to watch Trey Lance. I think he could be really good. They should dominate this game. George Kittle might not play. He, I guess, has a groin issue or something like that. But I'm the Trey Lance is, he's one of those quarterbacks that there's a lot of pressure on him.
For sure.
Even though they traded all those picks for him. I'm assuming you're taking the Niners here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the Niners here. I think that the Bears are probably the worst, my pick for the worst team in football to start the season, personally. I've said it. They don't have any real pieces to me.
Yeah, sad.
And
I feel bad for Justin Fields, man.
yeah, I mean, Nick Bosa is just going to use their rookie left wait, I forget his name right now. It'll come back to me.
Tevin Jenkins.
No, it's not Tevin Jenkins. Whatever. But yeah. I think that the Niners obviously there's just been a lot of weird crap going on with Jimmy G. He's been on promotional posters and whatnot. It's been a lot of weird stuff going on. Obviously, he's still there. They love to have him there. I don't know. I think
They
I do
love
think
Jimmy G there, man. They
I
love
think Trey
Jimmy G.
Lance is under a lot of pressure, sort of see, I don't really think he's on the hot seat necessarily, but if there are, a string of 7, 8 bad performances in a row, then I could see him getting replaced maybe in, October or something like that. But yeah, I mean, these two teams are in different classes. The Niners are obviously looking towards, trying to redeem themselves from last year and go to the Super Bowl. They're elite almost everywhere. Obviously, the big question mark is the quarterback, but he's in a great situation and he'll have a great game to settle into, what he wants to do. He's got a really easy opponent. I mean, the Bears suck. I'm gonna go with the Niners here.
All right, your Philadelphia Eagles taking on the big bad Detroit Lions, led by Jared Goff. Big year for the Eagles. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, another one of those quarterbacks that's really on the hot seat. If he's not good this year, if he can't get the job done, they might look to move on, try and trade up in that draft for one of those quarterbacks. What are you thinking here? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you're taking the Lions with this one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just am a real believer in Jared Goff. But no, I'm taking the Birds here. I mean, I obviously have a very high opinion of the Eagles that they beat the Lions by 40 points last year. I think the Lions are going to be much improved this year, but they do have Jared Goff playing quarterback. And, I obviously think that the Eagles defense has been significantly improved. Obviously, Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis coming in, James Bradbury, and recently CJ Gardner-Johnson, which I thought was a great acquisition because they got him for basically, a very good defensive back. Obviously big personality too for peanuts. And I'm a big believer in this Eagles team right now. I don't know if I'm a big believer in Jalen Hurts, and obviously Jalen Hurts determines where their ceiling is. But I think if I'm going against the Lions, who like I said, I mean, obviously Vitae just he's not going to be able to play on Sunday. But I'm going with the Eagles here.
Yeah, I think this is gonna actually be a close game. I think that this Detroit team is very interesting. I think, offensively, they've got some guys that, Amon-Ra St. Brown last year at the end of the year, he was really good.
Yep.
DeAndre Swift for the injury was, really good, especially from a fantasy perspective. Um, Jared Goff is what he is. He can get the job done, and he's not going to turn over the ball too much. He's pretty cautious, and he's not very good, but he is what he is. I'm taking the Eagles with this one. I think they should win this game. I'm excited to see AJ Brown play alongside Devontae Smith, and see how that kind of works out for them. I'm excited though for the Lions to see Jeff Okudah, Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, the Lions have a lot of, especially when Jameson Williams comes back. They got a lot of fun young players that it's going to be fun to watch this team. They're heading in a great direction. So props to them. They just got to get that quarterback now, I think is key for them. I mean, they've got a lot of potential key pieces for a rebuild. So if they can hit on presumably they'll go quarterback first round. They should, have a top 10 pick next year. So if they can hit on a quarterback, this team could be maybe threatening to get to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. So we'll see. But the Eagles should win this game. I do think the Lions will somehow make it a little closer, maybe, within 10 points, I'll say. But I'll still take the Eagles in this one. Patriots, Dolphins. I feel like these guys always play week one. I feel like every year it's Pats Dolphins week one. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here. I don't know if you can hear me. I think my internet's a little
I can hear you now.
okay. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins in this one. I'm honestly, I'll be honest, I'm not a big believer in the Patriots. I just don't think they did anything. They lost JC Jackson this offseason. I'm not a big believer in this team. I'm not a big believer in Mac Jones. I think he's fine. I don't think he's anything special though. I think that this Dolphins team, I'm not a big believer in Tua either. I don't think either of these guys are franchise quarterbacks per se, but you look at the weapons they have, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. I'm really excited to see what Mike McDaniel is going to do with those two guys. And you got, Chase Edmonds signed there. You got Mike Gesicki still. So I'm really excited. I think the Dolphins defense is pretty solid too. So I'm going to go Miami. I think that Miami is a team that they're going to be threatening for the playoffs. Maybe they'll sneak in at a wild card. But I just am not a big believer in the Patriots this year. And I'm sure they'll prove me wrong. And the Bill Belichick team will, it seems like that guy is just guaranteed to get like 10 wins in a season. But I don't know. I'm going to take the Dolphins. I think Miami's offense should be pretty fun to watch with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the Dolphins obviously have pretty high hopes for this year. I'm not the biggest believer in Tua, but I do think that they're probably better than the Patriots. Obviously, lost Shaq Mason in addition to a lot of the other names that you said.
Yeah,
I just don't think that they got significantly better than last year, like you said. And I think a lot
I
of
think they
that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm just not that big of a Mac Jones believer. I think he's fine. I honestly think Tua and Mac Jones probably have very similar, ceilings in the league. But
yeah.
like you said, you're a big Mike McDaniel fan. Yeah, you're interested to see what he has to do. I am too. Obviously, it seems like playing in Miami is obviously sort of Bill Belichick's bogey team almost for for the Patriots. It's not very obviously that insane lateral play when Gronk was playing safety all those years ago.
That was
Um,
crazy.
yeah, and where Kenyon Drake ran it in as time expired. But I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here and Mike McDaniel.
All right, this game I'm super excited for. Browns, Panthers, Baker Mayfield versus the Cleveland Browns. Jacoby Brissett will be the starting quarterback, so obviously Brown's going to be a little hindered. But I mean, the Browns' first 4 games, they got the Panthers, the Jets, uh, the Steelers, I think, and then the Falcons or something like that. I mean, it's just this. If they can start off the season really well, they can still make the playoffs, even with that Deshaun suspension. What are you thinking, though? This should be CMC's coming back. This is a fun game for sure.
I'm gonna go with maybe to your dismay a little here, Griffin. I'm gonna go with the Carolina Panthers. I think you're gonna see a motivated Baker Mayfield.
No,
A
I was looking at the Braves score, and they are up 3-2 on the Athletics. That was the
gotcha.
reaction there.
Yeah, I think you might see a motivated Baker. Obviously, like you said, Christian McCaffrey. He always has those big performances in this first couple weeks before he's out for the year. And yeah, I'm gonna get the Panthers here. Obviously, I think the Browns are a very good team, especially when they have their quarterback. But I don't believe Jacoby Brissett's going to be able to lead them, into what I think is going to be a pretty crazy atmosphere. Carolina, obviously, a lot of storylines in that game. I'm going to go with the Panthers here.
I'm gonna go with the Browns. Bias aside, I think that the Browns are still a very good team, even with Jacoby Brissett. I think their rushing attack is still going to be so good with that offensive line, and I think their defense is really good. I like, that their cornerbacks are great with Denzel and the Northwestern Wildcat Greg Newsome. JOK I think is going to have another good year, and obviously Myles Garrett, one of the best players in the NFL, and he's going to be matching up on Ikem Ekwonu week 1. Ekwonu is playing left tackle or right tackle?
I'm going to
I
check
think
right now.
left, right? Because Moden is right tackle, right?
Guess so.
So I'm assuming Ekwonu will be on the left, which very well could be a welcome to the NFL moment. And I'm very excited to watch Baker in this game. I mean, obviously, this is going to be one of the most interesting games week 1 just because of that Baker versus the Browns. I don't know, man. Like Baker, he's going to be better this year. I still don't believe that, he. I think these games are the ones that Baker is. I think Baker's either going to go for 304 touchdowns or it's going to be a 3 interception game. With the Cleveland defense, with that secondary, I'm going to go for the 3 interception game. But I think this should be a fun game. Would be, Baker goes off. That's going to be something. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Browns in that one.
All right.
Colts, Texans, battle of the AFC South. Dameon Pierce, number 1 running back for Houston. He's been a fun guy to watch in the preseason. I mean, outside of that, though, not much to be excited about in Houston. I'm going to pick the Colts in this one. I think this is a pretty easy pick. Jonathan Taylor, he should have a very successful week 1 against the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the Colts here as well. I'm obviously not as I just don't think I'm as negative as a lot of people are on the Houston Texans. I'm not exactly a Lovie Smith believer. I'm still not really sure how he has that job. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Colts here. Obviously, I've talked about how I believe they really did significantly upgrade on Carson Wentz with Matt Ryan. And yeah, I'm gonna go with the Colts. But I'm very interested to see how Davis Mills plays because I have some Davis Mills stocks, Griff. I don't know. I think he might not be the worst QB out of that rookie class. We'll see.
Yeah, he was good last year. Definitely someone to keep a close eye on. Saints Falcons. This is just going to be a boring game if I'm being honest. Not much to be excited about. I mean, it seems like Drake London should be healthy though, so he'll make his rookie debut. With Marcus Mariota, Kyle Pitts, obviously the second-year tight end, should have a big year. I am going to pick the Saints though, and it seems like Michael Thomas is on track to play. So the first time in 2 years, basically, that he'll step on the floor or on the field. That'll be fun to watch. Chris Olave's debuted. So there's some fun rookie wide receivers here. The Falcons are bad. I mean, they might be my worst team in the NFL. They're right there with the Bears, I think, and yeah, they're not going to be good. The Saints are, I think they might be a playoff team in the NFC. The NFC is a little definitely weaker than the AFC. So I'm going to pick the Saints. Excited to, their offense should be a lot better than it was towards the end of last year. I mean, they were running out Ian Book with, God knows who at wide receiver. I mean, it was bad. So I'm going to pick the Saints. This team should be a lot better than last year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Saints here as well. Obviously, they have their quarterback back. And Falcons are just rebuilding. They're starting Marcus Mariota. This is a big rivalry game when both teams are good, but both teams haven't been good at the same time in a while. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with the New Orleans Saints here. They're just significantly better, to be honest.
Definitely. All right, next game, Ravens versus the Jets. Joe Flacco, rivalry game, revenge game. Joe Flacco, revenge
Yeah,
game.
Flacco.
Not sure if J.K. Dobbins is going to play. It seems like probably not, but I mean, that's not going to affect the outcome of this game. This is going to be probably a Ravens massacre. But the Jets, man, I mean, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, I am excited to see these guys play. Breece Hall as well. There's a lot of fun rookies. I think this is a tough first matchup, though. That Ravens defense, healthy, it's going to be a very tough defense for that Jets offense. And Lamar, I think, is going to have another big year. Although I am a little skeptical about that wide receiver room. I just am not a big believer in it. I'm a little worried at what they've done there, but I'm still going to pick the Ravens. I think they should still be a good team in the AFC.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Ravens as well here. I mean, I obviously I think they're gonna be one of the best teams in the AFC. I think them and the Bengals are gonna be neck and neck for that AFC North ground. And the New York Jets are rebuilding again for the millionth year in a row.
I don't think Zach Wilson's going to end up being the guy. I think I mean, I feel like I could have told you that when they made the pick.
Has that ship sailed, Griff? I mean, obviously that injury kind of it's
two knee injuries in 2 years. I don't know, man. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not great.
It's, to be honest, with this quarterback class, it's a make or break year. Like, if he's bad, they just got to move on. Like, as crazy as it sounds, they just are going to have to move on.
Yeah, I mean, if they get the number 1 pick or something like that, I mean, they're going to take C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young at that point.
Yeah, or even Anthony Richardson, man. I mean, that kid, he's looking good. He's looking good. He might be the guy that rises. I mean, he was already at the top, but he might be the guy that really rises up to maybe not the number 1 pick, but up there for sure. I mean, it's going to be very interesting, this draft with Will Anderson and all these quarterbacks. It's going to be. I'm just already excited to watch that draft next year. But yeah, I think Zach Wilson, obviously he's not playing for, Salas at 3 weeks. So, but when he is playing, if he doesn't show anything better than last year, I think the Jets are in a spot where they are getting close to having the pieces to compete. You move on to one of these quarterbacks in this draft class for sure, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And obviously, I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I mean, because Joe Flacco is playing quarterback for the other team. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of interesting. I'm trying to figure out who to use my survival pick on. I've been leaning the Denver Broncos because I'm not a huge believer in them. But, I mean, there's a lot of games here where I feel like it's going to be not close. But this slate here looks a little closer. Jaguars Commanders. The debut of Travis Etienne and Carson Wentz's first start in Washington. This is just one of those games that you hope they don't really bring on in red zone, if I'm being honest.
It really is one of those, isn't it?
Like, they flip to this and you're just like, what are we doing here? Unless you have, I mean, I do have some ETN stock, but what do you think here? I mean, Trevor Lawrence, year 2. You're a bigger believer in him than I am, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars here, purely because of my anti-Carson Wentz agenda, if I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm going to go with Dougie P. He owns the Washington Commanders. He knows what he's doing. Dougie at the wheel. Trevor Lawrence, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. My bold prediction.
What do you think about Etienne? Like, I'm curious your thoughts on the season he's going to have. How do you think they'll use him?
I mean, I think he's just going to be such a safety blanket for Trevor Lawrence out there. I think he's just going to be super reliable. I think he's going to be utilized properly by Doug Peterson. I think that running back by committee that obviously was used in Philadelphia during the Super Bowl run and the ensuing years is really gonna shine in Jacksonville with Robinson and Etienne. And I think they're going to be quite dynamic. Obviously, Christian Kirk, $17 million, massive overpay. But I think it's going to alleviate a lot of pressure off of Trevor Lawrence, and I'm going to go with a big start to the Jacksonville season. I'm gonna I'm taking a Jaguars W here.
I'm gonna go with the Commanders. Jacksonville, I still don't think is very good. I don't think their defense is going to be very good. I think they'll be improved, and like you said, I think I mean, I have Travis Etienne in one of my fantasy leagues, so that's partly why I'm extremely curious to see his role. Um, but it's going to be very fascinating because, like you said, like Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he's the face of this franchise, and Travis Etienne was this guy in college. I gotta imagine he's going to have a big role in this offense. Like the comfortability between those two, it's just so much. Like I could see Travis Etienne getting like 5 catches a game, but I could also see Travis Etienne being like a 8 carries, 2 catches a game kind of guy. Like I don't know what they're gonna do. I think they should use him a lot. I think he should be a guy that lines up, maybe even in the slot sometimes, and come out as a wide receiver at times. I'm very fascinated to see. I think he's very versatile. He's going to be a very good player, I believe. So I'm very curious to see how he does, especially from a fantasy league perspective. I mean, I'm kind of stressing about that, but I'm gonna go Commanders. I think they are better. I think their defense should be solid this year. And Carson Wentz, he is what it is. I guess Antonio Gibson's going to be the starting running back since Brian Robinson unfortunately got shot. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Commanders here.
Yeah, all right. I'm rooting on Carson Wentz's downfall wherever he goes.
Packers Vikings. This is an interesting game. I'm
Yeah,
going
it
to be
is.
honest. The loss of Devontae Adams. There's no clear wide receiver one in Green Bay. I mean, Aaron Jones might have 100 catches this year. Like
Yeah,
honestly, um, I don't know. This is a weird game. What are you thinking? The Vikings are going to be. I mean, did you see also on the NFL Network predictions? There were like multiple people saying Kirk Cousins was. I think Michael Irvin said Kirk Cousins is going to be the MVP this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've actually seen more than there have been a lot of people like just saying because he's just going to be constantly airing the ball out of that new offense that they're going to throw 40, 50 times a game. But like, I think both of these teams are actually going to be quite good this year. I sort of mentioned that last week, but I'm going to go with the owner of the Minnesota Vikings franchise, and that's Aaron Rodgers. And I think he's just the ultimate trump card, the 2-time MVP. I think he's the best. Him and Mahomes, in my estimation, are the LeBron and Jordan of the NFL right now. Like not all time, obviously, but like in terms of interchangeable being the best for me. But like, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Packers here. Obviously, like you said, I think it's gonna be really interesting to see who exactly Aaron Rodgers are gonna throw the ball to.
Yeah.
Um, but I I think that the Vikings these are two really good teams, and I'm really interested to see what Justin Jefferson does in this game. I mean, I think that's really who I'm interested to see performing. He's really, hyped up himself a lot, or hyped up the offense a lot. He's going to be able to get a lot of open targets in training camp. I mean, in the regular season while he's in training camp. And uh, I'm going to go with the Packers actually in a shootout here.
I'm very excited to watch the Vikings. Like you said, I'm actually going to pick the Vikings here. Um, week one last year, you look at Green Bay, they had a rough time against New Orleans, and I'm not saying that's going to be the same case here, but I do think there are going to be some growing pains with this offense. These are, a lot of new weapons. You lose Devontae, MVS is also gone, so you've got a lot of new faces there. I think they're going to really use both those running backs, Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. I think they're both going to be really important to this team. But like, I'm very curious because like someone's probably going to have close to 100 catches on this team. It's just a question of who's that guy going to be. Is it going to be Alan Lazard? Is it going to be Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Aaron Jones? It's really the jury's really out. Especially from a fantasy perspective, very interesting in Green Bay. I am going to take the Vikings though. They are at home. Like you said, this offense should be really good. Their defense got better this offseason as well. So I'm excited to watch them. I think Kirk Cousins, weirdly enough, kind of resembles Matt Stafford in a way. I don't think he's as good, but he's kind of that quarterback where he's not very mobile, has a pretty strong arm, can get the ball downfield. So I think Justin Jefferson is going to have a huge year this year. I think Adam Thielen, another guy who kind of always just gets undervalued. I feel like people always forget about him. He is getting up there in age, I guess, but he's still a great player. Dalvin Cook, obviously, when he's healthy, is one of the better running backs in the NFL. So I'm going to take the Vikings. I think it'll be a good game. I think there'll be a little bit of growing pains for the Green Bay Packers offense just because of all the new faces. And, from what Rodgers has said, it doesn't seem like some of these guys have clicked also. So I'm going to go Vikings week 1. Why
All right.
not? I wish it didn't take me back to the screen every
That's
time.
annoying for sure.
Giants, Titans.
Wow, this is a crappy game, to be honest with you. Who wants to watch this week 1?
Thank God I'm not going to be in New York having to have this on one of the local channels. Oh yeah. I'm going to go Titans. I think they're the better team. I'm not sure what the status of Traylon Burks is going to be, if he's starting or what. I mean, it seems like he's got to start, so I'd imagine he'll play. But Derrick Henry, I mean, this is going to be a guy who I think it's like 30 carries week 1 and just dominates the Giants. I mean, this could get ugly with him. Saquon, though, another guy I'm very curious to see how he does. And Danny Dimes, I mean, I feel like it's a foregone conclusion. Unless he has like an MVP season, he's gone at the end of the year, essentially. So I'll go Titans. I think the New York Giants they're going to be bad.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think that the New York Giants are just a trash can dumpster fire. They're going to be bad this year. And I don't think the Titans will be good, but I think the Titans will be 9-8, 8-9. They'll be like
Yeah, in that range.
they'll
Yeah.
be serviceable, and this will be one of their the Giants are a team that mediocre teams beat up on to hype themselves up and delude themselves, because this Giants team really is just god awful. I mean, I just don't know where any type of production is coming from on that offense. Don't talk to me about Saquon Barkley. I love Saquon, obviously, Penn State legend, but he's just not that guy at this point in his career. I don't even have too much to say about the Titans here, because I obviously made my thoughts on the AFC South known. I really don't think it's a very good division. I don't think that the Titans will be that good at all this year. I think Ryan Tannehill, we might see end of his Miami Dolphins Ryan Tannehill this year. Obviously, Derrick Henry coming off a severe injury as a running back. We'll see. I mean, the Titans will be good enough to beat the Giants this year, though. That's for sure. So
yeah, the Giants are they're going to be bad. But all right, we got 4 games left. 3 pretty good games here, and then that Monday night is going to be terrible. Raiders, Chargers, what a battle. I mean, I'm excited for this game.
Yeah.
This division is just going to be so interesting. I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset. I'm going to go with the Las Vegas Raiders here, week 1, away. I don't know, man. Something about that Raiders offense. I just think it's going to be so good. I think that the Chargers are without J.C. Jackson right now, which I think will play a huge factor in this game, because those weapons are just going to be so tough to guard, I think. And, I'm just going to pick the Raiders, kind of a gut feeling. They beat them last year in that big game down the stretch, or week 17, last game of the season, or week 18. I think the Chargers are going to be really good. I still believe they'll win this division. I just think that the Raiders are going to win week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with the Chargers here, just sort of maybe to combat you, if for no other reason than that. But and I think these are both 2 really good teams, but I think that the Chargers defense is probably better. I mean, obviously they have the stars on that side of the ball. Obviously, their home field advantage is really sort of like negligible, because it'll be all Raiders fans there, because the Raiders don't really have a fan base since they have relocated from Los Angeles.
LA is definitely a Rams town, for sure. I feel like the Rams have got kind of a solid fan base. I don't even
really think that they care about the Rams either, though.
LA is one of those towns where, like, when I went to the Dodger game the other week, you can kind of tell, like, it's just you kind of just go to the games for to be seen, and like.
I think the team that they really, really care about, though, is the Lakers. I think that's the team really that.
Yeah.
I think that's. So, I mean, obviously, that home field advantage doesn't really exist, but I'm still going to go with the Chargers here. I think my boy Jay Herbo is going to want some revenge from, obviously that baffling decision to call time. I felt like a fever dream that game. That was unreal. That last game of the regular season last year.
That was, yeah. I mean, it seemed like the greatest game of the season, and then we had Chiefs Bills in the playoffs, which was probably the greatest game I'll ever watch in my lifetime, if I had to say. I don't know how it could get any better than that.
Yeah.
Chiefs Cardinals. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I'm not a huge believer in the Cardinals, to be honest. I think that Hollywood Brown should be nice, but they are without D-Hop here. That defense still is a little suspect to me. I think the Chiefs are just going to rip them apart. I think Patrick Mahomes, I think he's going to have a great year. You heard him come out and say, actually, I don't know if it's yesterday or today, but he said that this offense, it's not going to be just Tyreek and Travis catching the ball. It's going to be, every week it's going to be a different guy. So fantasy wise, hope he picked the right guy. I do think Travis Kelce will still be heavily involved, but I mean, even in the preseason, they were using a bunch of these other tight ends. It's going to be interesting to watch. Obviously, I'm excited to see Juju, to be honest. I think Juju could have a huge year. I think he's being undervalued in fantasy. They do have other guys. McCole Hardman is what he is. We've seen McCole Hardman at this point, but Sky Moore, some fresh blood on that team at the wide receiver room. So we'll see, but I'm not a big believer in the Cardinals. I think that team still isn't that great. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chiefs as well here. I really think that there's a good chance that Cliff Kingsbury is fired midway through the season because
I always the Cliff Kingsbury agenda.
I know I'm running it, Griff. I'm absolutely running this agenda here. I mean, I think that this is a guy who went 31 at 35 at Texas Tech. They happened to strike gold at number 1 year, and he's been living off Kyler Murray's back since, and he really hasn't done anything. The furthest he's got is losing in his first playoff game. And I just don't think
that was a bad loss last game.
And in an embarrassing fashion. Well, like you just said, you know how I feel about the Chiefs. I'm a Patrick Mahomes fanboy. I'm an Andy Reid fanboy. I think that they're one of the best teams in the league. I still think that they're the best team in the AFC West. I think they're going to steamroll the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think that game could get ugly. Bucks Cowboys. Oh, I love this matchup. Prime time Sunday night. Not having Al Michaels is going to be weird. I still don't get the whole Amazon Prime football. I think I'm not sure if I'm on board with that. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting game. Bucks Cowboys. What do you think with this one? I mean, I'm sure you're picking against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going against the Cowboys here. I think that they've gone worse in the offseason. I think that they are definitely less threatening on offense. But they obviously do have, one of the best defensive players in the league back there, Micah Parsons. But I'm going with the Bucks week 1. I think that, they're the second best team in the NFC pretty clearly. And I think that they're going to go on a deep playoff run this year. And Tom Brady owns the Cowboys. So I'm going to go with the Buccaneers here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers too. I think that this team should be good. I mean, you hear all these things about Brady's marriage being in trouble, and he looked kind of like a mess at that one press conference. But the one thing about him is once football starts, this guy's going to be on it no matter what's going on. Chris Godwin, full participant today. I don't know if he's going to play per se. If he does, it'll be on a snap count, but good sign for the Bucks. I mean, that guy, when he is healthy, is so good. Fournette should play well. I mean, this Bucks team still is really good. The only concern, I guess, is that O-line getting banged up throughout the preseason and training camp. But yeah, like you said, the Cowboys got a lot worse. And last year, Thursday night was, this was the game, and what a performance. And I mean, that was a great game. So hopefully it'll be something like that. And Dallas, like we've kind of talked about, the key this year offensively, it's probably going to be that run game. Zeke Elliott, Tony Pollard, with the losses at receiver, those guys are going to have to step up if this team is going to, achieve the goals that they have set and that come with the Cowboy image. But I'm going Bucks, like you said, for this matchup for sure. And then last game of the week, Broncos Seahawks, Monday Night Football. With Joe Buck and Troy Aikman now, a lot of broadcast changes this year. I mean, everyone kind of just flipped around to different networks, it seems. I mean, this is a pretty easy pick here. The Denver Broncos country, let's ride. Week 1, I'm going to ride with the Broncos. I think this team should be. Like I said, I'm not the hugest believer in this team. I'm not as big a believer. I think they've been very overhyped at times. Although I do feel like the hype has cooled down a little bit with the Broncos, but
I do agree.
Yeah, I'm going to pick them in this game. The Seahawks are starting Geno Smith, so
yeah, I'm going to go with the
and Russ coming back to Seattle. Like he's going to put on a show.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was going to mention a lot of storylines week one. I mean, former players and their teams, but I mean, obviously with Baker and Russell Wilson. But
The NFL scheduling, man. I mean, it's just like you have the Baker, you have Russ, and then my favorite is Deshaun Watson suspension, and the first game back is
yeah,
in Houston.
that's some
I mean,
craziness.
that's just bad, man. That it's
Yeah, it's
that's a head scratcher.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to go with the Broncos here. Obviously, I did predict them to finish last in the AFC West, but I still think they're going to be a pretty good team, like 10-7, maybe 11-6, somewhere around there. And obviously, like you said, the Seahawks are starting. There's a lot of all for quarterback play this weekend around the NFL. I mean, we talk a lot about how good the elite guys are, but I mean, there are a lot of teams that are just, not exactly going all out to win right now. And that's reflected sort of at the quarterback position. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos here.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I mean, there's like these, 4 to 5 teams per se with these, crummy quarterbacks, but next year most of these teams are going to be bad, and they're going to be picking quarterbacks. So it's kind of
Yeah,
because of how bad the quarterback class was this year. It's almost a bridge to next year to get a new set of rookie quarterbacks, and no rookie quarterback starting week one. First time that's happened in a long time, from what I don't remember the year it's since, maybe like 06, 08 or something like that. Could even be further back, but yeah, pretty crazy. But week one, I can't believe there's football like
yeah. I mean, I'm
20
excited, man.
almost
Obviously,
24 hours from now.
Buckeyes victory, Griff. I mean, last
It's a
Saturday.
little, yeah, I mean, that was a good
Ooh,
week of
nice
football,
there,
college
time.
football. Um I mean, yeah, I mean that the LSU finish. I mean, oh my God. I wasn't
Like,
watching it
that
live,
was
but I watched the
insanity.
highlights. I mean,
Yeah,
that was
no, so I
crazy.
say, I mean, insanity. That was
Oh,
just, yeah. I mean, it seemed like they were trying to outdo each other. But I think they
yeah.
fucking more.
There were some Georgia beat down Oregon, obviously. Alabama had a big win.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of
college football,
yeah,
although I mean, they're speaking of college football, the 12-team playoff was approved. I mean, real quick, I guess
yeah.
that's a good thing to kind of round out the episode. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Obviously, an expansion. I think a lot of people were for an expansion. I'm going to be honest, though, 12 teams, I think it's a little bit too much. I think
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not as big a. Yeah.
I,
What are
I'm
your thoughts?
I'm definitely in agreement with you, Griffin. Here, I mean, here's my thing. I love college football as much as the next guy. I really
Hmm.
do. But there aren't even 14, a lot of counter argument people are making are, oh, there are beatdowns in the 14 playoff every year anyway. But what they don't realize is that they're kind of making the argument for the other side, because there aren't 4 teams worthy to be a national champion every year. That's why there's a blowout every year. Usually there's one. Sometimes there are two, and if you're lucky, there are three that are good enough to actually compete for a national championship. And that scenario is why it was introduced. But a 12-team playoff, I just don't get it. I mean, I understand why they're doing it. Money talks. I get it, but it just I don't love it. And I think it's also, if Ohio State or Alabama loses on the road in the middle of October, it won't have that same feeling. It won't say, it won't. It just won't. I think it'll take away a lot of that upset atmosphere in college football, and I think that'll suck.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, losing one game is no longer going to be, you have that huge risk of, not making the college football playoff. Like, you could lose 2 games and probably still make it in with 12 teams. I think 12 is way too much. I don't know. And it's a weird number too. I mean,
It is. It is really a weird number.
why not just do 8 and call it like 8 is easy. I mean, you do 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5, and then go from there. I mean, 8 is easy. You're gonna get down to 8 anyway, but like no one's gonna want to. I mean, there's going to be beat downs in the 12 team, and there were
Yeah.
going to be beat downs with an expansion anyway. Obviously, like a 1-8 seed playing was
Yeah.
going to get ugly, but I think it's too many teams, and also like 12th seed, like it's not going to be that good of a team. Like they're going to be
No, that's right. Exactly. And they're gonna, it's yeah.
like yeah, maybe I'm sure one year there's going to be like a 10 seed or something that just makes a run, which will be very fun, but the rest of the years it's just going to be it's going to end up being the same 4 teams almost every
Yeah.
time probably.
Sure.
And you're going to have Alabama there, you're going to have Ohio State there, Clemson. I mean, I feel like they're kind of in a weird lull right now, but they got to turn their program around. But Georgia right now is on top. USC should be good. And there's gonna be a lot of good teams, but I don't know. We'll see. I think it's a little too many teams, but I think an expansion is good. Just 12 is such a weird number. When I saw 12, I was just like, what the hell? I mean, 8. I feel like 8 was just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even against the 14 playoff necessarily, but yeah, I mean, you're gonna see Alabama, Georgia there for a while. Let's be real. Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, and I think those.
I think the one thing that is cool though is that they are doing on-campus playoff games. I think that's great. I think that's a great addition. That'll be fun. Those will be fun games, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think. It is cool. I guess it introduces more schools, like a Northwestern per se. Like maybe they have a really good year and are like a 10 or a 12 seed, and they get in one year, even though they'll get probably destroyed, and you get in the playoff. I guess that's cool. Buy a T-shirt.
Like, can you imagine like BYU sneaking in and having to play Bama though? Like, come on, come on, man. Or like, what if I'll give you another example. What if like one year like Tulane goes on some kind of crazy run, they go 12-0 in their shitty conference or something. Just like Jesus Christ. Like I just don't get 12 teams. It's a lot of teams, and I get it. But I think college football is going to look very, very different from what we know by the time Griffin and I are, have graduated, I think the college football landscape will be significantly, significantly different.
Yeah. I mean, you already look at UCLA and USC joining the Big Ten in a few years. I mean, it seems like that's just the start. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, with that will do it for this week's episode of Outside the Arena. Very fun episode. Like we said, there won't be an episode this weekend. Or I don't know if we said that. No episode this weekend. It's kind of a bridge, but hopefully next week we should be back next weekend. So enjoy the first weekend of football, folks. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Follow our podcast on Instagram at Outside the Arena Podcast. Appreciate all the support. And, we'll see you soon. That's for sure. Hopefully next weekend on Outside the Arena.